What is up, guys, and welcome to the video. In today's video, I'm basically going to be going over just viable specs I'm kind of looking at for PvP and Legion here. There's definitely a lot of new changes and some really good talents to note, but I'm not going to be going over every single talent in this video. This is just kind of assuming that you know what the talents are, and I'm going to be showing you which ones that I think are viable and maybe a secondary one that might be able to replace it. So first tier here is going to be pretty obvious. Presence of Mind would be the pick a choice. It is changed, but it's still really good. So what it does now is instead of making your next spell cast instant, it makes the next 3 arcane blasts you do instant. And it is on a shorter cooldown. It's on 60 seconds now instead of a minute and a half. And that'll be kind of nice in case arcane power is a fairly long cooldown, a minute and a half, and that's a big window. If you get a setup before then, presence of mind being on that shorter cooldown will definitely help in those specific scenarios where you need damage but you just don't have arcane power. Arcane Familiar might be the only other one you take, but the damage from this seems pretty low from what I've seen in Legion Alpha. It's basically a minion, or I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, a mirror image that follows you around. I mean, the cooldown on it is 60 seconds, and the thing itself lasts for 60 seconds. So that might be an okay alternative, but I wouldn't recommend it. Torrent, just garbage. AoE, barrage, woo, 25% more damage. Next to here, Shimmer is the new one, and this one is the one I've been looking at. It looks really fun. It adds a lot of mobility to Arcane Mage, and what it does is it lets you cast Blink like in the middle of a cast. Like say you're casting Polymorph or Arcane Blast and somebody's closing in on you, you can blink away and still be casting that spell. And it's just really handy. It takes Blink off the global cooldown, and it adds mobility to Arcane, which is mainly what I'm looking for. Like it is replacing Cold Snap over here. Cold Snap is pretty much, I don't want to say pretty much the same, but what it does is it still gives you 2 charges of Arcane or Ice Block, but it's not an ability anymore. It's just a passive, and it adds in the glyph of Regenerative Ice, which is decent. So I guess it'll be back and forth between those two. And then we got Cauterize, which I'm seeing this more as kind of a fun talent to try out in Battlegrounds maybe arenas if you're running with the healer. But what it does is, since Blazing Speed has been taken out of the talents, it implements Blazing Speed into Cauterize. So while you're burning your health away, you have the Blazing Speed buff on you, which could be really fun if you get the full 6-second duration out of it. And I guess you could kind of pair this like old school days with Ice Barrier, since we have that baseline. Once you start to Cauterize, you can put Ice Barrier on and a talent I'll show you later on, and actually kind of tank through the burn of it. So let's move on. Mirror images are pretty much the same. They haven't really changed. You get 3 copies of yourself and they do damage. Um, an okay talent, more fun than anything, I guess, if you just want more buttons to push. Rune of Power is a big change here. Now, Rune of Power used to be just the baseline, 15% damage increase, but now it's more like a cooldown. And it increases your spell damage by 50%, which is pretty huge. I mean, that's more than Arcane Power. And if you combine those two together and just start stacking those kind of damage bonuses up, you're going to get some really high output. And this one, it is, still the mobile or the pre-stationary spell. You got to stand in the circle, which is it's a decent yard range. I mean, it's not like you have to stand in literally one little spot and you can't move. I mean, you got a little bit of mobility in there, but it for the damage bonus of it, I definitely think it's kind of worth trying out here. So I'll be definitely going with that when Legion comes out and experimenting around, getting used to play with it and whatnot. Icarus Flow is definitely a nice alternative. It'll probably be the go-to for most 3v3s, I'm guessing, just because you can't really stand in the Ruin Power as much if you're gonna, it's pretty easy to kite out. So Icarus Flow might be the arena talented choice. The next tier we're going with here is Supernova or Charged Up are the kind of 2 options. Supernova is the same in the sense that it does the same thing. It bops them up and does a decent amount of damage, but they changed that it only has 1 charge now. And the other kind of nice thing that it doesn't really mention is it doesn't replace your Frost Nova. It doesn't say. So I mean, if you go with Supernova, you're still going to have Frost Nova, and I'm going to explain why this is actually really important. So going with Supernova before you got the 2 pop-ups, it was just high-end damage output, and that's why we always went with it. It was kind of really superior compared to the other two talent choices. But now you have Ice Nova back with this. Ice Nova, I mean, Ice Ward, you guys know what Ice Ward is, the old school one. They hit you, they get frozen. There was no real, I guess I could say, skill cap with Ice Ward before. Like, you couldn't preemptively do a Frost Nova on a rogue and stealth that you knew was right there, but you really couldn't do anything until he opened up on you with a Garrote or a cheap shot, and then you're pretty much stuck. So Supernova is still a really good talent choice, and I definitely like the fact that they're letting you keep your Frost Nova with it. Charged Up is pretty simple. You know, it grants you your 4 arcane charges right off the bat. It's on a pretty short cooldown. It's really nice. It's basically like a alternative arcane orb. And I want to go over that real quick. If between, I think there's two talents here that you really want to pair together. If you're going with Supernova, then on your last tier talent, you're almost always going to go with Arcane Orb. But if you want to go with Charged Up, the other one that I really want to try out is Quickening. And Quickening is basically a haste stack, and it seems really uh, like a really good alternative. I mean, the haste that you can get from this is pretty immense. I mean, it's like Arcane Explosion, Arcane Missiles and Arcane Blast give you the 2% haste stack every time you cast them. You could just be standing there spamming Arcane Explosion just to get the stacks up. You only need to do it like 4 to 5 times, if that. I mean, you're just going to have ridiculous haste output. Maybe you could get your polys down to like, I don't even know, a solid 1 second cast, which is really fast. That's like unstable affliction and affliction lock speed, which is which is really really handy. So, but yeah, Charged Up definitely seems like a good alternative if you don't want to go with Arcane Orb and go with Quickening, and that's actually the route that I'm going to be taking as soon as Legion comes out. I really want to experiment with this and see how hard it is to keep the haste stacks up and just see how effective it can really be. So I know I kind of skipped there, but we'll go over the center here. Ring of Frost, Ice Flow is pretty much unchanged. Ice Ward now is no longer like an ability, it's just a passive that lets your Frost Nova have 2 charges, which is pretty handy. I mean, it'll probably be the go-to one. It's kind of a bummer that Frost Jaw was taken out of the equation here, but Frost Nova will be really nice for just getting those hard casts off. If all of your mobility cooldowns are gone, which is going to be really hard to burn through in Legion here as Arcane, you're going to have a lot of stuff. If you really just want to stand there and spam Arcane Blast a couple free times, then you can do that with the double Frost Novas. Now this tier talent, Nether Tempest is unchanged, Unstable Magic is unchanged, but Erosion is a new one. I'm kind of caught between these two, Erosion and Unstable Magic. This tier talent, they're pretty unimpressive to say the least. I mean, for Arcane, try and keep this up, and even if you do, it seems like a lot of work for only 10% damage. Because what it does is basically every time you hit the target, their resistance to magic, lowers, and basically they take increased, percent damage per stack or of thing they have on them. But it definitely seems like a lot of work to do for only a 10% damage boost. So Unstable Magic definitely seems way worth it when you combine it with the Presence of Mind talent up here. I mean, you're bound to get at least one proc when you pop Presence of Mind, and I mean, a 50% damage hit on a target is pretty good. So I think I'll actually be going with this one, and maybe I'll try Erosion out, see how it is, but just the damage output from it doesn't really seem worth it, and the passive from this will be a really nice damage boost. And yeah, that's it for the PvE talents. Now let's move on to the PvP ones. So here we got the pretty standard first tier. Everybody's got the same thing. You got your Gladiator's Medallion, the Adaption, which is pretty garbage. It seems like it's like you don't have any control on when you trinket, so that could be easily triggered by the enemy team. And then Relentless. Now I actually might be going with Relentless here just because I really don't need a double DPS trinket, so it's not like I'd need that talent. I don't mind using the Freedom trinket and getting the base stats from it, so Relentless seems like a pretty good option. Just overall reduction of CC, it'll pretty much raise your uptime and the damage you can put in. It'll easily make up for not having a double DPS trinket. The next talent choice here, Train of Thought, definitely seems like something that'd be really hard to keep up. I mean, if you do, it's only 15% damage bonus for maybe one or two casts before somebody, realizes you're just free casting there and just throws something at you to hit you. Mind quickness, a base haste increase. It's pretty nice. Haste is definitely our go-to stat as Arcane next to Mastery there. And they're pretty neck and neck, and it's going to increase, your cast time, your mobility, just getting those polys off. And then the next one is your crit chance is increased by 30% on targets at or above 80% health. And this one seems really, really strong. For it's almost like punishing healers for topping the enemy team off. And I think I'll be trying out this one to start off. Mind quickness might be a good alternative, but initiation, I mean, Arcane is known for that huge burst, just doing the 100-0 in a few seconds. So I'm definitely thinking that increased crit chance on targets that are full health is really gonna help that one-shot dream. Next we got the third tier talent, Netherwind Armor. Definitely a pretty good talent. I mean, reduced critical strike chance on you by 15%. I mean, it's basically a debuff on everybody that ever attacks you. And for them to lose 15% crit chance on you, that is pretty huge. Burning Determination, the reduced lockout, that's going to increase your uptime. It's definitely going to be handy for kind of those just melee heavy cleaves that are sitting on top of you. It'll increase your window if you're not exactly the best at juking. And that's just, I guess, one less thing you have to worry about. I guess you wouldn't even have to juke as much if you got this. You can just get their kicks out of the way, and if they're not going to kick you, they're going, you're going to cast a lot more. Prismatic Cloak. This one is definitely the fun tier choice. After you blink, your spells pretty much have a 100% chance to miss you for 2.5 seconds. I'm not sure if this is just for spells or if it's count like melee abilities as spells too, because I guess they technically are spells or categorized under. But I'm not sure if it's either or both of them or just one of them. So I guess I'll just have to wait and see. But Prismatic Cloak, definitely that looks way too fun not to try out, and that'll be the go-to choice for me. Next tier talent, Kleptomania. Spellsteal now has the cooldown, but it basically purges every single magic ability or magic buff off the target. I could see this being really, really good for maybe Resto Druid teams, or just purging all the hot stuff, letting them build it up and thinking that they're good to go, and then right as soon as they go back to I don't know, get a drink or do something, it basically pulls the rug out from under them. And this could be really strong against Resto Druids. Instead of spamming 4 to 5 spell steals to get every single buff off of them, you can just do this one good one, and you're good to go for the burst. Um, that that's more of a 3v3 kind of talent. I wouldn't see picking this up in Battlegrounds, just because it's not like you're really going for a really fast setup in Battlegrounds. You can kind of wear them, spell steal them off slowly, and I don't think a healer would really notice. Dense Ice seems like more of a dueling talent. Increase the amount of damage your ice barrier is going to absorb, but it only absorbs physical damage. Not really going to be bothering with that one. Temporal Shield, though, here is definitely the one I'm glad is coming back. It is changed up here a little bit, though. It does say, or it doesn't say like it used to be, it's off the global cooldown and can be cast while stunned. And instead of restoring the health you get from it back over a dot or a hot, it's all in one chunk, kind of like what's that warlock ability, the Ember Tap without the glyph. It's basically a big chunk of health back at the end of it. And I want to experiment around a lot with this. I'm happy it's back, and it's just more survivability if you have some downtime and the melee's on you and you can't get away from them. So I mean, that 4 extra seconds of basically tanking the damage will be really nice. Next we got the next two here. We got a concentrated power. This one I'm not really bothering with, just because arcane power basically lasts 5 fewer seconds, but you get 10% increased damage from it. It could be handy. I mean, getting a arcane power damage bonus for 30% instead of 20 does sound pretty nice, but compared to the other two talents here, I might not be picking it up. So Torment the Weak basically increases your damage by 15% on a slowed target, which I feel like that pretty much nullifies this talent right here. Like this, I mean, if you could have a 10% damage bonus for a temporary time or a 15% damage bonus all the time. Obviously, you'd go with this one here. That's why I'm kind of confused as to why they have this one like that. It's just, I mean, instead of getting 10% on arcane power, you could just remember to slow the target before you cast arcane power. And that's why I'm a little surprised about that talent. They just seem to counteract each other. Then this one here, time anomaly. Every 5 seconds you have a 5% random chance to gain 4 arcane charges and arcane power for 8 seconds. Regardless of its cooldown. This could be really fun. It's heavily RNG based, but I don't think it'd be anything to rely on. I still think Torment the Weak would be the go-to talent choice here, just because it's overall damage and you don't have to rely on RNG for it to really benefit you. And then finally we got the last tier talent here, which this is all the fun stuff. This is a lot of the goodie bags and everything you ever want. So Master Escape reduces the cooldown of Greater Invis by 45 seconds, which brings Greater Invis down to a minute and 15-second cooldown, which is really good. And I mean, that's baseline for Arcane now, and that is huge. It's just, it's basically, God, I guess a get out of jail free card every minute and 15 seconds. It's a really short cooldown. If you're going with Shimmer and you don't have the 2 ice blocks, then this could be really handy for just, getting yourself out of danger while your healer is CC'd, or just getting the hell out of a battleground fight that you're not going to win. Next we got Rewind Time, which increases the duration of displacement by 14 seconds. And displacement, basically what it does is, after you blink, you have an ability called displacement, and it's usually within 10 seconds of blinking, you can activate this ability and it'll teleport you back to where you blinked from and reset the cooldown of blink. But what this does, I'm assuming, is instead of that 10-second window, it'll give you basically a 24-second window to go back to when you last blinked, which is pretty huge. It definitely seems kind of unnecessary though, and I mean, by the time you could do that window, like, that's 24 seconds. Your blink is going to be back before that even happens. I mean, that 10-second window that you have from initially definitely seems like enough time, and this just kind of sounds like overkill, to be honest. Then you got Mass Invisibility. We made it, guys. Mages now have a Rogue's Shroud. I mean, this is insanely fun. I think for Battlegrounds, it's going to be pretty hilarious. It's only on a 60-second cooldown, and it basically, makes you and your allies invisible. It's only for 5 seconds, but I mean, it's not like you really need much time. If you're going into a battleground, everybody's mounted up. I don't know if it's like a shroud where you gotta stay near them, or maybe you can like dismount, cast the mass invisibility, and then just blink ahead as you're invis. And I don't know, it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun in Battlegrounds. Definitely something I'm going to be trying out early on, or once I get the talent in Battlegrounds. But I still think Master of Escape here will kind of be the go-to talent. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video here, and let me know kind of your thoughts and opinions on the spec here. I know it's definitely a pretty experimental spec. It's a lot of this stuff is just speculation on my part to see if it'll work or not. It sounds like it'll work, but who knows? Maybe when Legion comes live and I actually get to try this out, shit could hit the fan. So let me know if you guys got a different spec or something that you want to show me and that you're trying out. Hit me up with it. Send a link in the description below and I'll check it out and just kind of give you my opinions on it. Because really there is no one right answer here. I'm sure there's a lot of other specs that are going to work out just as fine. So shout out though to my man Braga for hitting me up on Twitch there, kind of give me his ideas on a viable spec and just seeing what will work in Legion. He definitely inspired me with a couple ideas here and made this video a lot easier to make. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, this is Spart out.